If you run a bathroom remodeling company and you're running Google Ads, there's a good chance that you're paying for clicks that were never going to turn into a real job. Bathroom remodels are one of the more competitive and more expensive niches to advertise in with Google Ads. That means the margin for error is small. If you set it up wrong, you're going to burn through your budget fast. But if you set it up right, it's going to be one of the best lead sources you can have. I'm Sam, and I run Google Ads for local home services businesses. And I'm going to walk through exactly how I have set up bathroom remodeling accounts in the past from the ground up. So let's get started. So first thing to think about is who is actually searching for a bathroom remodel. So generally in this instance, it's usually homeowners between the age of 35 to 65. Generally, they are homeowners and not renters. Higher income just because a job can run anywhere between 10 to 25K. And again, that depends on your area. Another thing too is people who are looking for a bathroom remodel, it's not a panic service for the most part. The sales cycle can be a little bit longer too, so that's why maximizing lead volume is crucial. It can be anywhere between 2 to 4 weeks for someone to really end up becoming a confirmed job. And that really determines how your ads look and what's on your landing page, because it's one thing just to write generic copy that resonates with anyone but converts no one, rather than finding your right audience, which can depend on your location and who you're catering to specifically. So generally, if you're a bathroom remodeler and you're running Google Ads, what kind of jobs do you want? Generally, it'll be full bathroom remodels, walk-in tub or walk-in shower conversions, tile and flooring, and the accessibility remodels, although sometimes that can be a little bit more niche. And then if you're doing more accessibility remodels, you're going to want to go for people who are a little bit older. But even with that age range above still fits many of those people, because it's usually parents looking for a loved one who's older and needs that service. Not only that, but also master and guest bathroom renovations. So these would be the kind of ad groups you'd create. And again, these will be dialed in further depending on your location and other factors that are dependent on your individual business. Now, when it comes to things you don't want, it'll usually be caulking or grout repair, unless you actually specifically do that. And then in that case, that would be a separate campaign or ad group depending on your budget and size. Along with that, tiny handyman fixes. So anyone searching things like handyman near me, I would remove those. Generally, those people, they're too broad, and they're most likely not going to convert into qualified users. When it comes to rentals, these are usually just people who are price shopping, looking for do-it-yourself advice. Do-it-yourself is another negative you'd want to add, or just looking for cheap cosmetic touch-ups, so just something very small. These would be negatives you'd want to add. Another crucial part of your campaign structure would be what I call the Google Ads triangle. I made another video about that already, so feel free to check it out. But the long and short of it is we have 3 pillars over here: location, budget, and landing page. Location, generally start tight within a 10 to 15 mile radius. Look into higher value zip codes, but be careful with that, because if you start with high value zip codes, sometimes what can happen is that the targeting is too narrow and you don't get any traction at all. So what I would do there is do a 10 to 15 mile radius to start. As always, make sure it's people in your area and not interested. That way you're not getting random VPN users or unqualified traffic. Or budget, generally for a bathroom remodel, minimum of $1,500 to $2,000 an ad spend to really compete. The reason for that are cost per click. That can be really high for the service. Some clicks can be as low as 15. Sometimes you'll get lucky and they're lower, but others can be as high as $40. And that really eats at your budget, especially say if you're running $1,500 a month. That's about $50 a day, which means you might only get 1 click. Underfunding those campaigns is generally the reason why these campaigns are stuck in what I like to call a Google Ads dead zone, where you spend enough to get some traction, but not enough to actually build momentum or get enough conversion volume so that Google can learn who is a good conversion and who isn't. Lastly is the landing page. Never send people to your homepage for the most part. Sometimes it can work and you can get qualified leads that way, but generally you'll notice more often than not that your quality score will be on the lower end of the spectrum if you're just running it to the homepage, because that homepage is generally designed for everyone to see and not the specific service or pain point that the ads are speaking to and what users are searching for. When it comes to photos, use real photos of your work. I would avoid stock images if possible. Before and after shots are really good. A good landing page is really what separates a good campaign from a great campaign. So this next part over here is where most remodelers lose. This would be your unique selling point. If you look at bathroom remodeling ads, everyone kind of looks the same. So this is something that you really want to do to stand out. Everyone says free quote. Generally, what's going to happen is the homeowner is going to shop around. They're going to click on a bunch of ads, fill out their information, and then end up going with whoever's the cheapest. So in order to really differentiate yourself there, make sure you have a unique selling point. So strong offer, in most cases, is going to be the lower price. Sometimes if it's too low, then that leaves much to be desired when it comes to the quality of that work. One bathroom remodeler I worked with a while ago used free toilet install with any full bathroom remodel that was booked that month. Now, what that does is it creates urgency and it adds value without discounting the fact that they're getting a good deal with that. Other ideas you could do is financing lifetime labor warranty, a free design consultation. So I would just spice up a free consultation, but maybe do free design consultation, turnaround guarantees, things like that. I would put the unique selling point in both the ad and on the landing page. That way it's highlighted. The reason why you want to do it in both is you can put it in the ad, which is great. It's probably going to increase the click-through rate. But when they go to the actual page, they will see that and they're more likely to read it and ideally convert. And again, it doesn't have to be expensive, but make it feel valuable. That they feel like they're winning when they sign on with you. Keywords, generally make them high intent. So bathroom remodel near me, bathroom renovation contractor, service specific, geographic. So bathroom remodeler in your city, wherever you are. Avoid terms like cheap, in this instant, do it yourself, how to, cost of. When you're ready to scale, you could consider some of the cost keywords, but especially at the start, avoid them. And sometimes, more often than not, you might end up just having a decent amount of lead volume with a decent sized budget and you don't want to continue scaling. And in that case, just avoid the cost of and just keep doing what you're doing. Generally start with exact and phrase, but once you have enough data, then consider experimenting with broad. The reason why you want to do broad later on and not at the beginning is your ads are going to show everywhere and you're more often than not going to get bad search terms that go along with that. Turn off all auto-created assets. I made a video how to do that too. The reason for that is if you don't do that, after your campaign launches, Google is going to slowly just start creating generated assets, and there's a decent chance you probably don't want what they're creating in your campaigns. The more control you have, the better. Conversions are going to be the number one priority. Phone calls and forms second. The reason why phone calls is immediate. There's less friction compared to a form. On a form, some people might feel weird putting their information in and then getting spammed immediately. But with the phone call, it's more casual and people are more likely to respond when they hear your actual voice. You really have to respond quickly. I have seen before where people call and then the calls are abandoned and then it's really hard to get those leads later. So respond quickly. Another one on the conversion end of things, and Google does this now anyways, which is good, but make sure you set phone calls to one and not every. If you do it to every, some person calls and then they call again, Google would count that as 2 conversions when really it's just 1. In terms of the bid strategy, generally there's 2 ways to go about this. You could start with maximize conversions first, or you could do a manual CPC first. It's on a case-by-case basis. I have launched campaigns on max conversions at the very beginning, and it takes a couple of days, but it does start getting traction. More often than not, I'll start the campaign on manual CPC just to get some initial click data. And then once there's enough click data, then I switch to max conversions. So generally in terms of what to expect, there's a couple periods in Google Ads. First one would be 5 to 7 day learning period. That's right after you launch your account. When you do manual CPC, there's not really much of a learning period because you're just setting the bids. If you go the automated bidding route, there is usually a 5 to 7 day learning period once you do that. And then the next crucial stage is the 60 to 90 days after you launch. That's when you have enough data and Google really learns and figures out how the campaign works and operates. At the start, you may get a few junk leads. That can be normal, but if you keep seeing it, then there's probably an issue with a form, and hopefully there's no issues with where you're sending your traffic. Sometimes if Search Partners is in there by mistake, make sure you eliminate that immediately. That's a big source of unqualified leads. Another one could be job seekers. So the best way to remove job seekers is to create an audience exclusion in the audience section. And then what you're going to want to do there is job seekers or current college students. That's another category that you might want to consider removing too. That way you have less likely of a chance of attracting those users from seeing your ads. And over time, as you get more qualified leads, Google is going to learn who is qualified and who isn't. And it's going to go prioritize more of those qualified leads. In terms of cost per lead, that depends on your location, your market, and your landing page. Now, you don't always have control over your market, but you do have control on your landing page. So that's one of the best ways to optimize besides just making updates to Google Ads. Now, as an added bonus, local service ads, definitely run those too if you can. If you're doing bathroom remodel, generally Google will sometimes ask for a plumber's license. So just be careful of that. It can depend on your state though. The benefit of local service ads though is that the leads are cheaper. You get a Google verified badge and it is pay per lead. What that means is you're only going to pay for calls. And if the call is bad, Google's AI system is supposed to mark those as bad calls, and then you get your money back or you get credited. But you can also manually review those calls and then dispute them if you believe that call was not considered a good lead. A good thing to do too, if you're running local service ads, is if you do call and someone asks what you do and it's not a relevant service that they're asking about, make sure you explicitly say that you don't do that sort of service. That way Google's AI can pick up on that, and there's a higher likelihood that it doesn't count as a lead. Also, if you are running local service ads, it is even more important to make sure you answer the phone quickly because Google will penalize you if you don't pick up the phone. If you run these two together, that's a really powerful combination. And especially when you're in this early learning period, I would definitely recommend running local service ads as well. That'll go a long way in terms of picking up some of the slack as the search campaigns continue learning. Now, if you are looking at your bathroom remodeling account and you do have questions, feel free to reach out and I can always take a look at your bathroom remodeling campaigns. So the long and short of it, this was an overview of how I would run a Google Ads campaign for a bathroom remodeling company in terms of budget, location, landing page, and also the structure of the ads. If you do most of the things that I outlined over here, you're already going to be ahead of most remodelers who are currently running Google Ads. If you are looking for running Google Ads for your Google remodeling business and the leads just aren't coming in consistently, this is what I help with. And I do offer an audit where I go through your account and tell you specifically what I would change.